Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today I need to make a vise because I have some job at the customer's place, so I really don't want to unbolt my vise. And I thought I might make one. So here we are at my 3D model, and it's not accurate at all, but enough to keep track on everything and realize some things that will be needed. So we can move to bandsaw and we will chop some pieces for the main body. All the things that I used will be in video description. First off, I cut a square tube. I guess it's 60 by 60 by 4 millimeters, which will be the bigger diameter. And for the inside, I used 50 by 50 by 5 millimeters. So it should be strong enough. And then I just use a file to get rid of the sharp edges. Next thing, I cut the tube with inner diameter bigger than the thread I will use as a vise screw. It will just be place where the thread will live when it's full closed, and also it will protect the thread against some dirt and all the other stuff. And of course there should be nut welded on this tube, and I just want to say I'm not a welder, I'm a machinist, and as you will see in a few minutes, I'm not a good machinist at all. So please don't judge the welds because I'm using some old flux core welder and I think it's really out of its limits. So the welds will be strong enough, but not the prettiest, I guess. As you saw, I used cardboard to elevate the nut. It's not the best option because of course it's flammable, but I have it in my hand and it was the perfect thickness. So the threads of the nut and inner diameter of the tube should be in one spot, so the thread won't bind in the tube. And also we need to connect the tube with the square tube 60 by 60, so I made this little square block of 10 millimeters thick sheet or plate. I need to weld it square to the tube. So I used my magnetic square. It's really not the best option for this diameter of the tube because the section between those plates is bigger than the pipe. So I tried to put it just against the one of the plates and I think it worked out great. Hopefully I will be able to weld this to the square tube in good alignment. And for this I use some shims under the pipes. It will be at the right height or in a center of the square tube. And it looks like I don't have set 0 on my bandsaw because it's not square at all. So I used a shim to get it where it should be and leave a gap where it's needed. For the inner square tube, we need the same square welded on the end, but with a hole for the thread and with recess for the bearing. Because I want to use axial bearing, because it should help to get more strength into this vise. So first off, I square all the edges in a mill, and now we can drill it. And I'm using 25mm step drill. And as you maybe already saw in my shorts, one of the bigger chips went exactly on my shorts, so I was wondering why I always bring home so much chips, and I guess this is the answer. So next I will get my boring head and I will bore this diameter to 26, and then for the bearing. So it's all done, and now we can weld it to our inner square tube. Again with some shims. Now it's time for the thread. Its diameter is 24 and it is the hardest you can get, at least in my country. So I was wondering if the bandsaw is even capable of cutting something like this, and I want to try it. So you don't have to, and your money stay in your wallet, not on a wall with more bandsaw blades. It went, I guess, the half with no problems, and then I guess it got too hot and the cut was worse and worse, and of course it went through, but the blade is going directly to trash bin. It's even cracked on one side. So we have the thread long as we need it, and now I want to connect it with one of the longer nuts. So I will drill through the nut and the threaded rod, and for now we will use just screw to hold it together. First of all, I want to make a flat spot where my drill won't start in a wonky angle and won't break. I just make a little flat spot for the drill and I pre-drill it with tungsten drill because as I find out, the threaded rod is really hard. And then I just went with a bigger diameter for the bolt. And now we can do our first assembly. So I measured the thickness of the bearing and of the little square I just welded on the inner square tube. I will just use 2 nuts to lock them in a place and act like a stop for the vise opening, and the bearing will be only for tightening the vise. Now it can be inserted in the inner tube and lock in place with the remaining nut and a bolt. And now we can just screw it together. And see how it works. So the only thing left is to make holders and jaws. Of course, I will start with the holders of the jaws, and I will just cut it from a 10mm sheet, and I just print it from the 3D model to keep some reference of the paper to the steel. So I don't have a footage of cutting those parts because I was cutting it with grinder and I rather do this outside. So now we can weld it. Now we can do the jaw support, or I don't know how to call it. That's part that will be welded on those plates we just welded, and it will have 2 M6 threads for the main jaws to mount it, because I want to have a possibility to replace those jaws when they get messed up. It is just a block of 100mm wide, 30mm high, and it's 15mm thick. So I will use Edge Finder to locate the part, and then I will do equal spacing for the holes. And of course we need 2 of those. So I went through this one more time. And now we can machine the surface on those plates we welded on the square tubes. And here is the part when I messed it up, because I machined only 3 points of those 4 plates. I don't know how it happened, but unfortunately it happened. So as you will see, I will use some shims to get align those jaws. But now it's time to weld the jaw support plates to the jaw holder, or I don't know how I call it earlier, so this to this. And now for the jaws. I will square it up in all directions. And of course drill it. And countersink it, because you don't want the head of a bolt to sticking out and binding to your workpiece. And I was wondering how to do the knurl on those jaws, or I don't know if it's even knurl, but how to get those sharp edges to create more friction with the part you want to get tight in a vise. So I think I will leave this to next video. I probably could get it in a lathe and slow the RPMs and went fast with the knife, but I think this is great opportunity to get fly cutter for my mill, which hopefully will be soon enough. And also the vise have few more problems that I will solve in the next video, because in this video I need to do functioning vise, which I will end up with. And to get it pretty, it's for another video. So now we can mount our jaws, and this will be it for this video. I'm sorry that I'm ending video with half done work, but it's really something I need tomorrow. So thank you again, and I'll see you on the next one.